Dr. Kathleen Walls,
I'm Ed Umoja Herman,
and you are watching Dr. Walls and Friends on the Umoja Communications Network.
Where is my passion, purpose? Where can I find it? Where is my passion, purpose? Where can I find it? Where is my passion, purpose? Where can I find it? Dr. Walls and Friends, where I find it. Dr. Walls and Friends.
Hello and welcome to Dr. Walls and Friends on the Sisters in Harmony Network as well as Africa TV1. And we are sitting here today with Dr. Tom Gordon, longtime colleague and I'll say a playmate.
Greetings. I'm honored.
You're honored?
Yes.
All right. Dr. Gordon, tell the audience a little about yourself because the stories can go on and on for hours. But just tell them a little bit about yourself.
I'm a licensed psychologist in Pennsylvania and a nationwide consultant, leadership coach, leadership development, organization development consultant. I've been a college professor, a psychotherapist, but now I deal a lot with developing people to be successful. I'm in private practice as a psychologist.
Okay.
Yeah.
And kind of do some life coaching with people?
So very professional coaching, life coaching, basically helping individuals, teams, organizations be successful and have maximum fulfillment and expression of your capabilities.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he does that with Tag Consulting, but the thing about Dr. Gordon is he is also just walking wisdom and walking knowledge. And so I say my playmate because we have these fabulous conversations and then we exercise other parts of our brains and fall into hysterics talking about other things.
And I'm glad you mentioned that I'm walking wisdom because the way my knees feel, I'll be sitting wisdom. I can't play with you as fast as I used to, but I'm glad you invited me to be with you today.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
So today we want to take the time to talk about Kwanzaa because this is a topic that a lot of people hear about, but they don't know a lot about.
Yes, yes.
And it's something you've been knowledgeable about since really its inception.
Yes, I happen to be been born in year one.
Yeah.
So I was around in the mid-60s, 1966, when Dr. Malana Karinga, who actually has 2 doctorates and is a gifted and diligent scholar of our classical African civilizations and our current challenges as people of African descent, he and some other people got together and actually designed a celebration for African Americans.
Okay.
To basically create a conceptual and practical and emotionally fulfilling link for African Americans to the motherland, to Africa. And this is in the middle 60s when a lot of black consciousness was prevalent on the scene and people were beginning to feel global white supremacy that has devalued us. So it's actually a holiday created for African Americans in 1966. But now it's a global holiday celebrated in Africa.
Wow.
And celebrated in other countries and celebrated by people who are not explicitly, immediately of African descent.
Interesting.
All people are of African descent,
Okay.
ultimately. But,
Well, since you've been around since year one,
Yes.
and they chose to put the letters together, so you helped create the alphabet, is what you're telling us.
Exactly. Oral and written.
Oh, okay. Where did the word Kwanzaa come from?
Now, Kwanzaa is actually a short part of a phrase that comes from a language, Kiswahili. And Swahili is a language of trade. Just like English is used all over the world for commerce, in Africa, Swahili is known by lots and lots of people in Africa. So Dr. Karinga picked a language that was not parochial to a particular tribe or a section and is widely understood. So he picked Kiswahili.
Okay.
So the full phrase in Kiswahili is Matunda ya Kwanzaa, which means first fruits.
Okay.
Matunda means fruit, and Kwanzaa actually is a word that Anza means first. A-N-Z-A means first. And to put the phrase together, the first fruits, he noticed that when he went all around Africa, north, south, east, and west, African people get together, they know how to party. We know how to celebrate. We know how to reinforce community through celebration.
Okay.
But they also have harvest celebrations because a lot of Africa is based in agricultural economy. So Matunda Kwanzaa, the first fruits of the harvest,
Okay.
is a time when people celebrate all over the continent. So he said, well, this is a great opportunity. We'll do this at the beginning of the year, the calendar year in the United States. And that's why he picked December 26th through January 1st as a 7-day Matunda ya Kwanzaa, first fruits harvest, so that people could have a chance to reassess who are we, reaffirm who are we, reinvigorate the energy to be the best we can be, and to reward ourselves for having lived a moral and productive life during that year as we begin the next year.
Okay.
So it's designed for African Americans who he felt needed guidance.
Yes.
If you noticed, we have a range of behaviors within African American communities. Some of them are toxic, some of them are constructive. He said if we could actually get people thinking about this in a fun sort of way, you might get more constructive behavior. So he did it for guidance and energy.
Interesting. And I'm also hearing the importance of celebrating after hard work, because so many times people do not celebrate their accomplishments.
And this is the idea of celebration and rewarding yourself.
Yes.
And filling up your energy tank.
Yes.
Very important. Now you'll notice in the word Kwanzaa, 2 A's. The actual A-N-Z-A is from Swahili first. And then he put another A on there because his intent was to focus this holiday for African Americans.
Interesting.
There's your AA.
Okay.
And you'll see Kwanzaa.
Wow. See, this is why we talk. You see that? So much knowledge.
Thank you.
Well, what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk about the different principles.
Okay.
We'll be back shortly on Dr. Walls and Friends.
The Greatest Soul Journey by Dr. Kathleen E. Walls is a workbook-style journal designed to assist you in taking an honest look at your life. This journal will provide you with clarity and help you assess your life, your relationships, your thoughts and beliefs, and the ways in which you are working toward your greatest life. For copies of The Greatest Soul Journey, go to AskDrWalls.com. That's AskDrWalls.com. And remember, live your greatest life.
Welcome back. I'm sitting here with Dr. Gordon, and we're talking about Kwanzaa. And before break, you gave a nice little history of Kwanzaa and how it began.
Yes.
And we said we're going to pick up and talk about the principles of Kwanzaa.
Right.
So tell us about the first principle.
Okay, so this is a holiday of 7 principles are highlighted, and the idea is that these 7 principles represent a minimum set of principles that are taken together interdependently. You can have a successful life, you can have a successful family, clan, tribe, village. It can be used at various scales.
Okay.
And it's a 7 principle holiday.
All right.
Now other cultures have other principles and other symbols, but ours is 7. And there's a lot in ancient Kemetan, we know it as Egypt, but ancient Kemetan philosophy around certain numbers. So number 7 is a very, very important number.
Okay.
So the holiday has 7 principles, and later on we get to the artifacts of the holiday, you'll see 7 candles.
Okay. Well, let me ask you, what is it about the number 7?
The number 7 has a lot to do with power and completion of one's capabilities.
Okay.
In the short version of it.
Okay. All right.
So Dr. Karim was interested in our full re-empowerment. And you can't just do one thing to be empowered. We're captive people. African Americans are captive people who've gotten used to the culture of their captors. And they seek the validation of their worth from people that have killed, maimed, and oppressed them.
Okay.
So he said we have to have a holiday as just a tiny deposit in what should be a year-long, forever process of you learning more about who you are.
Okay.
Not that you factually came from Africa, but use Africa and its wisdom, the best of Africa,
Yes.
as a reference point for your guidance of your life. So these 7 principles are, think of it as a kind of spiritual and practical compass.
Okay.
Because each principle, you can generate a lot of specific choices, specific activity that it helps your decision tree.
Okay.
And he said we make a lot of bad choices if we don't have a good compass.
Mm-hmm.
So the first principle, he says, if you look around, we're very disconnected. And we're disconnected even with ourselves.
Yes.
Anybody ever felt self-doubt,
Mm-hmm.
fear, self-loathing? We're not even connected with ourselves, let alone to other people.
Mm-hmm.
So he said we need to really focus on unity.
Okay.
So he picked a Swahili word, which means unity.
Mm-hmm.
Now in Swahili, the word moja means one.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime you hear "u" something, it means the state of that particular something
Okay.
manifested. So he picked the word umoja,
All right.
which means we have the manifestation of oneness or unity.
Yes.
And so we need to strive for this. And we keep our eye on that,
Mm-hmm.
we won't be so quick to kill each other
Yes.
in our thoughts, our words, and our deeds.
Mm-hmm.
And so he started there. Now, you'll see Kwanzaa with 7 principles listed linearly,
Mm-hmm.
but the best way to think about it is of a circle.
That's what I was thinking as you were saying that.
Right, because they're interdependent, and if you think about our success being in the middle of the manifestation of the circle, then all of these principles will combine to create a force field around
Okay.
the circle. But for convenience, he followed a hierarchy of linearly describing 7 principles, starting with the principle of the moja. To strive for oneness
Okay.
within ourselves, our immediate families, then spread it to our neighborhoods, our community, our nation, our race,
Yes.
our world.
Yes.
So part of what Kemet and Nubia and Africa gave to the world was a moral system, that we're divine in our origins and we ought to be on the planet and do something good. So this is the principle of, it isn't good to be disconnected.
Not
and
at all.
divided. And you may get some trinkets or benefits or toys, but we really need to think about ourselves in terms of our oneness.
Okay.
And a lot of spiritual traditions do talk about that.
So I'm thinking with the moja, it is the oneness within oneself,
Yeah.
mind, body, spirit, and also internally, but then also a moja externally as well.
Absolutely. And when you say mind, body, spirit integration,
Yes.
you captured it.
Yes.
And there's a lot of choices that come from this. It could affect whether you brush your teeth or what you eat tomorrow, or how do you speak to your brother or your sister when you are frustrated.
Yes.
So he's saying these principles will guide a lot of practical choices.
All right.
Yeah.
And beyond just 7 days.
All your life,
All right.
24/7, 365.
All right.
But the holiday was to juice it up, jumpstart it,
Got it.
and get people gathered again,
Mm-hmm.
focused around it. Because a lot of holidays, people come from elsewhere
Mm-hmm.
and gather.
Yes.
So there's this in-gathering of the people. And if you think about it, we tend to scatter and get distracted.
Yes.
So the holiday was to get us focused again.
Gotcha.
And as we gather, to gather around something that would be beneficial
Yes.
as opposed to conspicuous consumerism.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with people using the idea of all the love that money can buy,
Yes.
I give you.
Yes.
He's saying we need something deeper than that.
And I'm also thinking gathering with a purpose.
Yes.
And as you said, guidance and focus. Because we can come together as a group, but then if we don't have something to keep us gelled, we can then move out into different factions.
That's why I love to talk to you, whether I'm seated or running or dancing or whatever. I call you my playmate as well, because what you just said is so powerful, because people remember Kwanzaa as partying with a purpose.
Mm-hmm. All right.
That's it.
Partying with a purpose.
Yeah.
I love it. And we'll be back shortly with principle number 2. I'm Dr. Kathleen Walls.
And I'm Latanya Moore.
And you are watching Dr. Walls and Friends on the Umoja Communications Network. So now we're going to talk about principle number 2. And what is the name of that principle?
Now this is a principle that has 2 names. And the first name is Uhuru.
I have not heard of that one.
U-H-U-R-U.
Okay.
Uhuru.
I've seen that written before.
And in Swahili, anytime you have that U in front of something, or K-U, it means the state of being of that something.
All right.
Another name for this second principle that you will see more commonly is Kujichagulia.
That's my favorite one.
Kujichagulia.
Yes.
Chagalia means self-determination. Remember that ku
Yes.
means you've manifested it.
Got
It
it.
is a state of your self-empowerment. You're coming into the fullness of your power.
Okay.
And that will not be bought at Walmart
No.
or Target.
No.
It's not a consumer item.
Mm-mm.
You have to work at that. So and we'll talk about that struggle in a minute.
Okay.
But that's the second principle, is principle of self-determination. And he's saying a captive people need a principle like this. Because, as Dr. Wade Nobles, another black psychologist, has
Yes.
said so often, true power is the capacity to define your desired reality and to have others embrace it as their own.
I need you to say that again.
True power is the
Yes.
capacity to define
Yes.
your desired reality
All right.
and to have others embrace it as their own.
Yes.
What has happened to captive people is others have defined for us our reality, capped our imagination, divided and conquered us. So we don't have a spirit of self-determination always. Throughout our history, those who had it, the history of those people has often been smeared or hidden. So we don't think about the resilience and resistance
Yes.
that our people always showed to define ourselves, no matter what our circumstances are. As long as you have the power to define,
Yes.
you can say there's a gap between desired reality and current state. Let me close the gap. So self-determination is that spirit of I'll always close gaps.
Yes.
I'll not complain about gaps. I'll close gaps.
You know, it's so funny because Coochie Chocolate is my favorite one.
That's your favorite
It
one?
is.
Why am I not surprised?
And as you're giving this fuller
Why am I not
description,
surprised?
neither am I.
Yeah.
And it's funny whenever I do work and people say, "What do you do?" I say, "I'm a gap filler."
You're a gap filler and a gap closer, and
Yes.
changing the game and transforming things.
Yes.
And this is who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone challenges your spirit, you don't roll over,
No.
cave in, and say, please, please, please. By the time that you're done with them, they're saying, please, please, please. Which is a spirit of self-determination. So he said we need to have the power to define ourselves.
Yes.
That's a key verb. And that has so many implications.
Yes.
And why do we call ourselves minorities? Because somebody else defined that for us.
Right.
He said, you're not a minority.
Right.
You're the majority in the world. So define yourself.
Right.
Redefine yourself. He said, you need to really redefine your name. Because we're often given names.
Yes.
He said, why'd you name that child Donald? Because I was watching Disney and Donald Duck.
You know what?
You know, he's saying this is mindless. You
Yes.
can't be successful as a person or as a people if you fill your mind as a consumer with everybody else's junk.
That's right.
You're eating junk food. So he says, no, define who you are.
Yes.
Define your name. Define your direction. Don't walk around without you being what we call empowered or having agency to
Yes.
say, no matter my circumstances, I cannot be bought.
Exactly.
I will define myself today. That's Kuchakalia
All right.
or Uhuru.
I love it.
Uhuru. It's freedom.
Yeah, and that's exactly
That's what it is.
That's exactly what I was feeling.
Right.
It's that free, and then the song playing in my head was "Free Your Mind" and the rest will follow.
And the rest will follow. Stephen Biko, a South African freedom fighter, said the greatest weapon of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed.
Yes.
We as psychologists are working on freeing the mind
Yes.
because it sponsors our interpretations, our choices, our sense of vision and hope. So if you don't free the mind, then you're still a captive people and your
Exactly.
imagination is constricted. He said you got to have that principle.
You have to.
Have to.
And we could go on for hours on that one alone.
Right.
I have songs I will tell myself and so forth.
Right.
So, all right, we're going to stop right there. We're going to pull it all together at the end, and we can really, really have a conversation.
All right.
All right, but we're going to stop for a moment. When we come back, we'll pick up with principle number 3. All right, we'll be back shortly.
Grandmother Tucker says my voice and her voice are one. Then I am my great-great-grandmother's laughter. The sound of her voice cradles me in my night dreams, and when I look at her, she inspires me to reach deep down inside me and paint the sky emerald green. Her voice travels through autumn leaves while all the children sit under the sycamore trees. We listen with our hearts wide open as she delivers earth messages through rhythmic breaths. She tells you, she tells me, each and every one of you, hand-plucked from heaven's branches and sowed into Mother Earth's womb to sprout, to bloom, to be your greatest yet to be. You were designed in perfect, aligned in wholeness. You are everything that God created on purpose. Children, go where I send you. Children, go where I send you. Remember your name, children. Remember your name. Remember the bottom deck. Backs ache, sore by this mother's rape. Witness the sister use the body as bait. As we wailed in the weight of reaching an unfamiliar place. Death became a rotten taste. Children, go where I send you. Each and every one of you, hand-plucked from heaven's branches and sold into Mother Earth's arms to sprout. Remember your first name, I am. Your last name, brilliant. Your first name, I am. Your last name, possible. Your first name, I am. Your last name, powerful. Your first name, I am. Your last name, purposeful. Children, go where I send you. Remember your belly is full like the moon. Let it shine there. Speak from there. And let feet guide you. Keep it moving. Keep it moving. Keep it moving. Keep it moving.
Welcome back to Dr. Walls and Friends with Dr. Tom Gordon, and we are up to principle number 3 with Kwanzaa.
Yes, principle number 3 is Ujima. Remember that U is the state of being. Jima has to do with work.
Okay.
So part of what Dr. Karinga was trying to get at is we can't sub-optimize and only work for ourselves. That would mean that we've complied with a Eurocentric model of we're total individuals.
Okay.
He said if we're going to be true to our African heritage, and there are a lot of crazy, stupid, bad things also that happen in Africa. So he's not trying to glorify and say it's a perfect continent. It's basically he's trying to look at the best of African traditions.
Yes.
And he's saying people worked. And we know that as African Americans, we have a lot of people that have strong work ethics.
Big time.
Big time, and we have rallied with each other and helped each other sustain each other when we were segregated from everything from health care to burial of insurance or whatever. Come together. So he said this principle of Ujima is critical, and he called it collective work and responsibility. So every time you say the Swahili word for something, he says also say the English word for it,
right?
So you'll kind of get the connection.
Exactly.
Focus on the collective, because we want people to not only work personally, that starts the collective, you got to be a part of it,
right?
Include yourself, but we've got to learn to work together. If you think about the principle of disconnect versus let's challenge it with unity, emoja, it makes sense that it be manifested in our work. So he says, what we need to do is have collective work and responsibility, and assume responsibility and make our brothers and sisters, it's not your blood brother or sister only, we as a people start thinking yourself as interdependent and connected, make our brothers and sisters' problems and challenges our own.
Okay.
And participate in solutions.
Yes.
How many times have we heard people say, that ain't my problem, that's their problem. You know, they're talking about another black person.
Yes.
I don't care anything about them. They don't care anything about me. And Dr. Karinga said, well, that's a lot of propaganda. You're tied with invisible cord.
Yes.
Stack your capabilities and work together.
You know, as you're saying that, I did some work a few years ago with some individuals who are from Nigeria. And they talked about the difference between going to school there and going to school here, and how when they had a problem that maybe they couldn't figure out individually, they would turn to their classmates and ask for help, and they collectively would work on the problem to find the solution. when they brought that same type of work here to the States, they tried that and they were accused of cheating.
Right. And the model, a paradigm, is individual testing. Whereas the African model is, if you got a real hard problem, why would you want to work on it by yourself?
Exactly.
Doesn't make sense.
At all.
Two different worlds in collision.
Yes.
And that's why they got accused in the West by proctors who said you're supposed to work alone. And in many African cultures, this is ridiculous.
Yes.
You work on things together.
And
Both the problem identification and the solution.
solution, yes.
So if we put our heads together, we might actually define the problem more precisely,
Right.
thoroughly, and we come up with solution sets. Not people just zeroing in on a narrowly defined problem and a narrowly defined solution.
Exactly.
And then it unraveling.
Yes.
Dr. Kalringer is saying no. Collective work and responsibility is the route to go to health. Mind, body, spirit integration, now extend it. And say yourself, it doesn't stop with your individual body.
Right.
We're a bigger self. And that's where the collective comes in.
And I'm just even thinking the expansiveness of business and so forth. You need others.
I'm so glad you brought that up because that leads us right into the fourth principle.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and roll with the fourth principle.
And the fourth principle is Ujamaa or Ujamaa. Remember that U?
Yes.
And Jamaa is the Swahili word that means family or kinship group sustained to live in the world.
All right.
So he says there, we need to have a principle that says we will actually support each other in our enterprises. That could be profit making, or nonprofit, it could be community building, or it could be some product or service. We need to support black businesses, support each other. And that's what that principle is.
Okay.
Now, he focused a lot on the business aspect of it, or the work in the marketplace aspect of it for principle number 4. But if you think about a healthy family, that could be who left that peanut butter on the counter again. It shifts if our way of being in the family is ujamaa, we're supposed to be helping each other
Yes.
get the work done.
Yes.
So then you don't have to nag about the peanut butter. People have a principle. We're supposed to be helping each other with it.
And you just automatically do it.
And you do it. Now what do people say? We have Black Friday.
Yes.
Now they turn Thanksgiving into Brown Thursday.
No, you,
So I'm sitting there thinking,
I have not heard that.
yes, came out this year on the news.
Did
Why?
it?
Because capitalism is running
Oh,
through consumer
yes, it
fuel.
is. Yes.
Dr. Karinger said, well, if you think about it, we ought to have blacks supporting blacks in business. And it shouldn't be just on Friday,
Right.
after Thanksgiving.
Right.
Don't run to give your money to other cultures. Have it cycle through your community as well.
Yes.
And that's why he said ujamaa.
Interesting.
Ujamaa. So you really are supposed to, during the holiday season of this principle, support lots of black service and product businesses.
And is that why we see a lot of African marketplaces during Kwanzaa?
Yes, and that was the idea, to really help people focus not on the Eurocentric, bigger market
Yes.
convenience malls, but to get them thinking about supporting black people.
All right. Well, let's take a pause there and we will come back with, what are we up to? Principle number 5.
Yeah.
Yes. We'll be back shortly on Dr. Walls and Friends.
The Greatest Soul Journey by Dr. Kathleen E. Walls is a workbook-style journal designed to assist you in taking an honest look at your life. This journal will provide you with clarity and help you assess your life, your relationships, your thoughts and beliefs, and the ways in which you are working toward your greatest life. For copies of The Greatest Soul Journey, go to AskDrWalls.com. That's AskDrWalls.com. And remember, live your greatest life.
Welcome back, and we are going to pick up with principle number 5 with Kwanzaa.
Yes, principle number 5 is purpose. Remember earlier, you're saying the gathering of the people for celebration, for reassessment, reaffirmation, reinvigoration, and reward. That gathering is like partying with a purpose.
All right.
So in Swahili, the word purpose is nia, N-I-A. And it means the reason for being.
Okay.
That we need to be mindful when we walk in a room or walk into a space or follow a path or do something or make a choice, don't just do it as a mindless consumer
Yes.
of somebody else's poison. And we're the only life form on the planet that will knowingly poison itself.
Yes.
So if you're a captive people, you get taught how to poison yourself. With white flour, white sugar, white
To obtain your
salt,
copy of The
smoke
Greatest Soul
from
Journey
cigarettes,
and copies for others
cocaine,
as well,
you get taught
go
how
to
to poison yourself. So he said, no,
AskDrWalls.com.
you
That's
need a purpose.
AskDrWalls.
So we need to really be
And as
mindful
Dr.
of our
Walls
life,
always says,
life
remember
opportunities,
to
and our
live
future.
your
And without a sense
greatest
of hope,
life.
you don't have a full human being.
Yes.
And without a sense of purpose, you don't have one either.
Yes.
So he said, that's got to be one of the essential 7 principles.
That's amazing, because I'm just thinking from the beginning you talked about how the 7 principles were based on guiding us back to really a reconnection with who we are,
And
a
health.
remembrance,
Yes.
and health.
And mind, body, spirit integration.
Yes.
Yes.
So Nia being the purpose.
Right.
Our
For which we live.
Yes.
That's a shorthand version of the purpose for which you live. That you are called, the village is calling you. You're so unique. No one has the exposure, life path, capabilities, skills, disposition, sensitivities of you. The village is calling you to your purpose.
Yes.
Some of us have been captive so long, we're afraid of that call. We run from that call. We're hiding from our God-given talents and destiny.
Yes.
And Matiba or Nelson Mandela used to say, you know, who are we to say we're great? He says, who are you not to say you're great?
Exactly.
You know, there's so much that you can do that no one else can do exactly like you.
Exactly.
If you'll come to purpose.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, in a group, everybody brings something to the team,
This-
to the party.
This is the honoring of diversity.
Yes.
Eurocentric thought competes with diversity to control it, suppress it, devalue it. We are the people in history that actually understood diversity of male, female, young, old, and other cultures blending and collaborating. And this is the idea of collaboration, and true partners are diverse.
Yes.
And they are on purpose. They have a reason for being partners.
That's right.
So they share a mind that allows them to stack their capabilities to do what? Ujamaa work. Or assume ujima, collective responsibility for each other's challenges.
Exactly.
Or to define their desired reality, kujichakulia. Or to unite,
See,
umoja.
I like the way you brought that all together.
Yeah.
See, I told you, he walking wisdom. See? But it's so important, because so many times nowadays what I hear with people is that they don't know their purpose, and that they're seeking their purpose. But then in the midst of seeking it, they're also scared to sit down, be still, and figure out what their purpose is.
You know, and that you just gave the key. If they would be able to trust a conversation with you or me or someone else to name the fear, they could stop making the excuse that they don't know.
Right.
They don't know is the excuse to hide from the conversation about what am I really afraid of. So the next time you say you don't know something, tell yourself, I do know it,
Yes.
but I'm afraid
Yes.
to say what I'm afraid of.
Right.
Now if they did that, that would be a breakthrough.
Okay.
That's a
Big
practical breakthrough,
time. Yes.
because your purpose is to be frightened enough to get your attention. Fear was never meant to be a chronic state.
You better teach. Go ahead.
It was meant to be an alerting state.
Yes.
Something's frightening me.
Yes.
Therefore, I need more knowledge and more support in order to advance.
More knowledge and more support, going back to the collective.
Going back to Ujima, the collective work and responsibility.
Yes.
Yes. So sometimes people are pretending that they don't know when they just haven't trusted you enough to say, I'm scared.
Exactly.
We need to actually teach people, and then part of what Kwanzaa could do in the Kawaida, or the cultural tradition from which Kwanzaa as a holiday is understood best within a tradition, we need to teach people that it's okay to be afraid.
Yes.
It's a form of intelligence.
Yes.
Meaning you don't have the full knowledge of the terrain or full support to feel like you're going to be successful.
Right.
It was meant to be a part of your total intelligence system,
Yes.
not an identity that you walk around under the spirit of complaint and fear
Yes.
all the time.
And you stay stuck in that,
You-
as
you-
opposed to
yeah.
it being something that you can step on, a catalyst that you work through and then rise above.
And I think you just said the way to get out of it and step on it, make it a stepping stone, is to trust somebody enough to be honest, to say, I'm intelligent, meaning I'm scared.
Right.
I suppose we did it that way. People say, I'm brilliant today.
Yeah.
I'm scared today.
Mm-hmm.
I'm radiantly brilliant because I'm shaking all over.
That's
Oh, goodness. There's some shaking going on at this party with a purpose.
right.
Suppose at Kwanzaa we could get people to name a fear.
Mm.
And to say, I'm so smart today, I'm scared of this.
Yes.
It means that you care about something, and you just need more knowledge and more support.
Exactly. To move past the fear.
So with the stepping stone.
Exactly. So with the purpose, as far as bringing your purpose to the community, what I keep thinking about, and two of us being basketball players, although some people may question,
They just haven't seen us play.
They just haven't seen us play. That's right. But being former basketball players, understanding that with the team, let's just say there's 5 right there.
Yeah.
Each position has a purpose.
Exactly.
And when brought together, you have a team.
Right. Which creates something greater than what the separate parts could do.
Exactly.
And male, female, they would create a child greater than what the separate parts could do.
Yeah.
This is the idea of partnership. That you're creating something greater than what the separate partners could do.
That's right.
And you need all of the principles to get that partnership together. And without a purpose, you don't have a partnership, you have a bunch
Go ahead.
of grapes.
Go.
You don't have people partnering. You have
Go ahead.
people getting ready to cut each other's throat, looking to pretend, masking their true agendas, suboptimizing.
Yes.
You don't have partners, you have agents of the oppressor with knives that are very close.
Yes.
So when you really talk about being a partner to somebody, then you're talking about some serious re-empowerment and transformation of our thinking.
Yes.
Because we can't stay captive
No.
if we're going to be partners. We're going to seek our freedom.
You know, as you're talking about partnership, I remember this article I read back in the 90s, and I really wish I could remember the gentleman's name, but he was from Atlanta. And he talked about the word submission.
Yes.
And of course, when I first heard that word, I had a very stereotypical sister girl response. I ain't submitting to nobody. What is that my submission for? And but I continued to read the article, and he said, break the word down. Sub meaning come under, mission meaning vision or goal.
Yes.
He says, so when you submit to something, it means that you've come under a vision or a goal. My whole attitude towards that word changed, because what I felt was happening was people were not clear on their mission. People were not clear on their vision. They were not clear on their purpose. And the article did go on to say, when you're talking about partnership, if we're talking about male-female relationships, a male cannot ask a woman, a man cannot ask a woman to marry them until they have a clear mission, a clear vision or goal. Otherwise, as you're saying, you're not going to have a successful partnership because there's nothing to work towards.
The base of the connection would be off of some things that are more temporary and transient.
Yes.
You're absolutely right. Wouldn't it be fantastic if people dated and actually talked about their big dreams for their lives?
Yes, it would.
That would be fantastic.
It would.
Instead of just saying you have a cute little wrinkle up nose.
That's it.
You know, if you talk about the big dreams for your life, you can get into some of your big fears and some of your big capacities and some of your needs for support.
Exactly.
When you feel vulnerable, you get to really know people's minds, then you have a stronger basis of connection.
And I'm just thinking about with Nia and that meaning purpose, that you get clear on your purpose within partnership, your purpose within profession, your purpose within spirituality, your purpose within the community at large. Again, moving from the internal purpose to the external purpose.
Exactly. Everything's embedded and scalable up.
Yes.
And that's the reason he said these 7 principles taken together are so powerful. They can be applied in every arena.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to come back and talk about principle number 6.
All right.
All right. We'll be back shortly.
As I stood at the Atlantic Ocean, I want to tell you what I heard. Although I came here for entertainment, although I came here for fun, I have found myself drawn to you as I heard your cry through your ocean grave. You're asking me to feel you, feel your energy, feel your pain, the way you felt as you jumped or were thrown overboard, dead or alive. Feel your journey through the Middle Passage. You said, do not forget where you came from. Do not forget how you got here. As you return to your corporate job in business casual attire, as you return to your computer and monitor and drink coffee from the break room, do not forget that your comforts were not easily accomplished. For I was stolen, tricked, then shipped away from families, away from land, away from love, and stuffed into cold, dark subparts of ships, destined for who knows where, for who knows how long, for who knows why. All I know is death, sickness, and disease, rape of her and him. The devil is in them, and all comforts were beaten out, tortured out, muted out of existence. But my suffering is real. You cried out for me from your ocean grave and told me to remember that my fathers are here. My mothers lie here in the depths. Energy is resounding, magnetic, demanding me to acknowledge and pray. King screaming out to me to acknowledge and pray. Queen screaming out to me to be quiet and listen, and respect who I am, and respect who you are, and respect who they were, and how dare I forget or ever take for granted the lives that were lost and were taken and were stripped bare of everything. They were stripped of everything. As they were stalked, face to foot, without space to breathe, cramps would have given them more space. As they watched foreign illness take dozens after dozens, as their bodies were left to spoil and rot until removed and then replaced by another, and repeat the same cycle over and over and over again for weeks upon weeks upon weeks upon weeks. The only air, stale and moist, blue was their only sight, for the land was gone. The land was gone. These monsters made the land disappear. And here I am on vacation on the sunny banks of St. Lucia, too concerned with my hair to get it wet in the same waters that my ancestors died, living the life that was given to me by the sacrifices that were made that my mind could not even conceive. My imagination cannot possibly repeat. My poetic mind cannot give any tribute of justice. I must do better. I can enjoy the life that I've worked hard for and lavish in my success that I've achieved, but I will give honor to you, in appreciation for all that you've given, while I live my life in remembrance of the loss of yours, and making sure that my children are aware, and reminding my neighbors, engaging my community by speaking your truths and reciting your story, by teaching your lessons and remembering your existence with gratitude and responsibility. I will not forget. I will acknowledge and pray. I will be quiet and listen, and I will be respectful. I will mess up my makeup, and I will soak my hair. I will submerge myself in the ocean where you lie, and be grateful for the experience of hearing my ancestors cry.
Welcome back to Dr. Walls and Friends with Dr. Tom Gordon as we talk about the principles of Kwanzaa. And we are at principle number 6.
Principle 6 is kuumba. Remember, ku, K-U or U, is the state of something, and umba means to create.
All right.
So it's the principle of creativity. Kuumba, creativity. Now, it means that we have to have intelligent adaptations.
Yes.
And we have to be transformers of our circumstances, not people that bemoan our circumstances. And the principle says we will strive to make the world more beautiful and beneficial than we found it. So baseline, whatever you found, your destiny in the principle of Kuumba is you leave it better than you found it. That has such implications for interpersonal life, for partnerships, for families, for businesses, for scholarship. So many of us are hung up on being perfect. We can't be wrong. Kuumba. Be wrong quickly.
That's right.
And recover.
That's it.
And learn so that you can actually be better. And not be so impressed with all you know. Think about all the things that you're going to know if you practice creativity.
And I'm thinking about it being right next to purpose.
Right next to purpose. Right next to purpose. If you got your purpose, then you know we can't just inherit a world.
Yes.
And the world isn't going to stay static. We've got to adapt and change and transform this world. And that is coming from ancient Kemetan philosophy.
Okay.
That the human being is on earth to make things better, to bring more goodness into the world.
Yes.
So we're flabbergasted and shocked and appalled at how the horror, so much poison around us, so much lack of mind, body, spirit integration. Dr. Karenga said, fine, those are the circumstances. Apply Kuumba.
Yes.
And transform your local theater. Because this Poisonous movie is playing in a lot of local theaters.
Yes.
Let's transform it.
I love that idea of making things better than you found them.
Yeah.
Because it's not that what you found was bad or wrong.
It's just better.
It was just lifted to that level.
Lift it up.
And now it's your responsibility.
So
and
Kuumba
purpose.
could be called the lift up, intelligently transform principle.
Yes.
Take it to another level
Take it to another
of
level.
greatness. A
Exactly.
more magnificent tomorrow.
Yes.
That's what he's saying.
You know I love that.
Have a better idea.
Yes.
Don't ever get stuck on being impressed with the circumstances so much that you don't realize you're called. If everything was wonderful, why would we need you?
That's right.
Look at your circumstances, and if it's great, make it greater.
Yes.
If it's got a gap, what do?
Fill the
We
gap.
close gaps.
That's right.
Make it better.
That's
Cool.
it. And go ahead.
And then
Go
in a
ahead.
practical note, he said, we need to stop buying all these gifts at malls. You're going to give somebody a gift at a holiday season or gathering. Think about a creative gift, maybe a thought gift,
How about that?
a poem, a story, a song, insight you had. Or maybe it's something you create, which could be a drawing or
Yes.
something that you do yourself. Don't always think you got to run out and give people all the love that money can buy. Be creative in your thinking. If you're stuck in front of a problem, be creative and say, well, maybe I need to have two people look at this problem.
Yes.
Now we're back to Ujima. Not just trying to figure it out by myself. You hear a lot of black people say, I didn't want to come and ask you for help because I wasn't sure I could trust you. I had too much pride. Or I didn't want to appear weak. He said, that's not African.
Right.
That's not African. Our job is to transform. So we need to work together to make things better.
You know, as you're saying it, I'm thinking about the phrase heaven on earth.
Yeah.
And one of the things, and I have it in my office as well, is live as if heaven is right here on earth. I sing it in one of my songs.
Right.
And I'm just thinking about making things better, using Kuumba, the creativity, to make something better than what you found it. So here we have earth,
Right.
which is wonderful and beautiful, abundant, gives us everything that we need. And then we have this abstract concept of what heaven is.
Right. And it developed in an era in which it's safer and simpler for people to think it's a place you're going to go to. And then they have Jesus ascending into the sky, or they look up. Where we could know, as a people, we looked up to the sun. That's why a lot of festivals and parties have some theme of light.
Okay.
They looked up to the moon, to the stars. They lived around water. They knew that the moon and stars influenced the tides. So looking up makes sense. To think that you're going to go to some place up is a feature of those historical times, before people really understood even laws of gravity, which is up and down. You know now, you've been to the moon, it's in and out, and you don't have up and down. That's
Right.
a feature of a gravity system.
Right.
So you better have heaven on earth, meaning you better create something that is greater
Yes.
than what you found.
Exactly.
It isn't a place up in the sky, within a gravity field. It is a condition or state of mind, and which is why Louis Farrakhan once said that the white man's heaven is the black man's hell. That people are confused and they think that their privilege is heaven. And what Dr. Karenga said is our privilege is to manifest our divine capabilities,
Okay.
to transform the earthly plane, to be more heavenly,
Yes.
to be more divine, to have heaven on earth.
Yes.
That's Kuumba.
And I can't think of a better way to pause.
All right.
So we're going to stop right there and we're going to come back with number 7.
All right.
All right. We'll be back shortly on Dr. Walls and Friends. We are here with Dr. Tom Gordon and we are up to principle number 7.
Yes.
So round it out.
Principle number 7 is Imani. In Swahili, E is the letter I. So Imani is I-M-A-N-I. Imani. And it's a principle of deep belief or faith or trust could be another word for it. So you often see it imani, faith. And it means that we have no future if we have no hope and we have no faith. And a lot of times our support for our fear is our faith. If you have low faith, your fear begins to escalate.
Okay.
And we begin to be non-productive or dysfunctional. So this idea is that it comes out as faith, and he says we need to strive to really believe in all of our hearts in our people. He said the enemies have really divided us and taught us to be suspicious and competitive and to be critical and hypercritical of each other. He said, no, we need to believe again that we don't have to be perfect, but we have challenges. And so we are going to have a future together. And this extends to your family, it extends to your neighbor, it extends to your elders. And he said, in that way, you won't be disrespectful to the shoulders that you're standing on.
Yes.
How many young people today are not aware of this principle?
Yes.
So then they behave in a manner that convinces a lot of elders that the young people don't care about them. So that's not right. We can't have a future disconnected from the generations.
Yes.
So we need to have deep faith in each other. The young needs to have faith in the elderly. The elderly need to have faith in the young. And so you see a lot of older people saying, I don't know what happened to this generation. I'm sick of them. They make my head explode.
Right.
And we lose faith in each other so quickly. But no, we got to come back to believing that faith is necessary when we can't see the circumstances change immediately.
Yes.
And so this principle reminds us of our faith. Now the holiday was meant to be a cultural holiday with 7 principles. This is the last one, celebrated on January 1st. So the holiday goes from December 26th to January 1st, where you celebrate a principle each day, ending in the principle of faith.
All right.
As we begin the new year.
Yes.
The fruits, the first fruits for the beginning of the year. We proceed in faith, and then if you think of it as a cycle, a circle,
Yes.
we proceed in faith to manifest our emoji, our unity,
All right.
to define our desired reality, Kujichakulia, to collectively work together, our Ujima, to build our businesses and stores and products and enterprises together, Ujama, to always remember the reason for our being, Nia, and to never settle for circumstances, always transform circumstances
Yes.
to make life more beautiful and beneficial, Kulumba, and then we return to more faith.
Beautiful.
And the evidence of all of that effort and investment. So faith with no work, we don't get anything done. But work with no faith, we'll splinter and divide.
Yes.
That's the 7 principles.
I love it. Well, we're going to take a pause and we're going to come back and we're just going to pull it all together and how we can apply these principles not only just in that week, but as you talked about earlier, 24/7, 365 days.
Okay.
All right. We'll be back shortly. I'm Dr. Kathleen Walls,
And I'm Neil Charles.
and you are watching Dr. Walls and Friends on the Umoja Communications Network. I'm talking with Dr. Tom Gordon about Kwanzaa, the history of it, as well as now how to practice it throughout the year, throughout our lives. And before we jump into that part, I want to talk about there's certain pieces that are a part of Kwanzaa, like the candles,
Right.
the mat, and so forth.
Right.
So please teach the people the names and the reasons.
Yes. A lot of gatherings or rituals have symbols and artifacts to sort of reinforce visually the underlying invisible principle.
Okay.
And so Kwanzaa is no different. You'll have trees and lights on a tree. You notice the light theme shows up in many cultural traditions as a guidance symbol. So Kwanzaa has candles. Remember 7 principles?
Yes.
7 candles.
Okay.
So the candles in Swahili have a name, Mishuma Saba. Saba means 7. Mishuma means candles.
Okay.
So these candles are lit one day at a time, and every consecutive day you would light the preceding candle plus a new candle. We always start with the idea of diversity, so there are diverse colors: red, black, and green. Black standing for black people, red standing for the struggle, the blood that has been shed, the struggle idea that your better life isn't going to come without some sacrifice.
Okay.
And green stands for life and the future and for land and having resources. So red, black, and green meaning that black people through investment and struggle will have a better life
Okay.
and live prosperously.
Okay.
So the candles are also these same colors, red, black, and green. And often you'll see people with a flag, some ornament there, which is the flag of the nation, Bandera Ya Taifa, red, black, and green flag will also sometimes appear at the Kwanzaa section that you're setting off in a space as a kind of sanctuary.
Okay.
But the candles themselves are red, black, and green. So there's one black candle, and it's in the middle of 3 red candles and 3 green candles side by side. All 3 red, all 3 green.
And are the red on the right or on the left? Is there a certain
It's,
way
from
to set 'em up?
perspective, if you're facing the candles, the red would be on your left,
Okay.
and the 3 green candles would be on your right,
Okay.
with the black in the middle. If you're standing behind the candles, then it would be the flip of that, and the red would be on your right, and the green would be on your left.
Okay.
So it's a matter of perspective. But you would light, for the first day, December 26th, the black candle of unity.
Okay.
And you would say Moja and unity. And everybody around you would repeat Moja and the word unity. And then you would share the definition. And we're really striving to have more oneness in ourselves, in our families, in our neighborhoods, in our communities, in our world, in our race, in our, So you repeat those principles that we discussed earlier.
Okay.
And the candles would be lit. First day, emoji. Next day, you light the emoji candle. And then the next candle, if you think about it, Kuji Chakalia,
Yes.
you think that you would have to struggle a little bit in a captive world.
Yes.
So what candle represents struggle?
A red candle.
A red candle.
All right.
So you would light the red candle next. And then the manifestation of that investment or struggle would be in the principle of Ujima, where we work collectively together. And our problems become each other's problems.
All right.
And our solutions are manifested together. So we light a green candle
Okay.
for Ujima. And then Ujama, we light a red candle.
Okay.
Each day, all of the other candles are lit also. So that Ujama now gets a red candle.
All right.
And if you remember, our next principle after Ujama was the principle of Nia.
Yes.
What do you think it gets, a red or a green?
I think we're going to get a green.
You get a green.
Yes.
And then Kuumba, we get a red. And then we end Imani with the green.
Yes.
And then you have 7 candles lit. And you'll have, each time you light a candle, some program or activities, some heritage events, and there are other artifacts as well, including gifts that are given
The
to
Zawadi.
young people, and they're called zawadi.
Okay.
In Swahili, that means gifts. And they could be gifts of books, because we're interested in people learning,
Yes.
or they could be heritage gifts that reflect our African culture.
Okay.
So often they're made and created in the spirit of Kuumba, or bought from black businesses in the spirit of Ujamaa, but they're gifts given also. So now you have Zawadi, the gifts,
Yes.
you have the candles,
Yes.
Mishuma, and there's 7 of them, so Mishuma Saba. Now the candles have to be held by somebody, either human beings or an artifact. If the artifact is a candle holder, it'll have spaces for 7 candles.
Yes.
Don't run out and buy a candle holder that holds 8 or 10 or 50. Get one that holds 7. And this is in Swahili called a kinara. And it's just a holder of the candles.
Okay.
And it sits on a mat, which represents the foundation for all of our celebrations and all of our behaviors 24/7, 365, is a cultural tradition of the best of Africa.
Okay.
Not thinking of the worst or the most stupid things that have happened in Africa, because you can have wisdom and foolishness in any part of the world. But the best of Africa represented our tradition, which is called kawaida or kawaida, And the mat represents kawaida, the foundation we're resting on. And that mat is called keka. And it means mat, but basically it represents as a symbol kawaida, our whole cultural tradition of philosophical, spiritual, economic, social, marital principles, out of which we spring. Actually, the New Testament, Old Testament are very recent descriptions of a moral compass, and they derive from things that predate them by thousands of years.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So the mat represents those cultural traditions
Okay.
and principles.
And then is there fruit that's
There's fruit
placed
there,
and
and it's
vegetables?
mazal. Mazal means crops, products of one's labor. So you'll often see people bring squash or fruit or corn. The corn has a special significance. You always bring corn, but they'll often bring grapes and bananas and fruit and other things. And it represents mazal or crops.
Okay.
Because remember, this was a reference to harvest celebrations.
Right.
Matunda ya Kwanzaa, fruit. Matunda means fruit. So you see a lot of people bring mazao and matunda, which are crops and fruit.
Okay.
Corn is special, it's muhindi. Muhindi is special, and you'll always see corn there, either real corn or ears of artificial corn, because they're talking about an African tradition of the future.
Okay.
And they're saying, let the corn represent the children. And some people have morphed this and said, well, we all start off as children, so let it represent all of us, whether there's children in the house or not, because we all start off as children. But the idea originally was not just your blood children, but let's be developers of children.
Okay.
So let's have an ear of corn there for each child that is in your space or in your care, in your circle. And if you have too many, then let the children's ear of corn stand for 10. And then you have 4 ears of corn, you have 40 people that are young, that you're dedicated your life to developing them.
Okay.
That's what the corn is in Hindi, represents the children.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so for more information on this, people can Google.
Yes, do Google Kwanzaa, Kwanzaa celebration, Kwanzaa symbols, and you can begin to see what we just described, which is the precise lighting, the use of stories, song, plays, getting children involved, and then on the seventh day, when everything is over, you typically have meals and you have refreshing drinks and conversation. But on the seventh day, you clench your fists and we say Harambe 7 times.
All right.
And Harambe is a Swahili word that means let's all pull together.
Okay.
Let's all pull together. And then the last Harambe said very loudly, and that closes off the holiday January 1st as we begin our new year. We're not supposed to tuck away the artifacts and forget the principles.
Yes.
If you tuck away the artifacts, if you don't have the sanctuary in your house all year round, like some people do, I have a sanctuary in my house all year round, but other people don't. You take away the artifacts, but take with you the principles. So that every time you walk in a room, you say, like a light switch, I'm on purpose.
Yes.
I know that's a principle of Nia. I know who I am and my reason for being in this room, in this space now. I'm not mindless. My mind is full with Nia. That was the way you practically use it. You could use it as a system of guidance for children, so that you could say each week, what principles did we honor?
Yes.
So even things like allowance could be based on somebody manifesting that they help somebody else outside of the immediate family.
Yes.
Showing the principle of ujima, collective work and responsibility, to make my brother's problem my own. And some child could say, this is what I did today, to help somebody. We could actually begin to use it practically that way.
It's very interesting. I remember one time hearing someone, a colleague of ours, and she was saying that she and her husband actually would go through the principles each day and see which ones did they accomplish, which ones did they fall short, to make sure that they would do the next day.
Right.
And I thought that was such an amazing guidance system and a mission, as we talked about submission, a mission that they both submitted to as a couple.
Yeah, I'm so happy you brought up the word submission and how it means be under or embedded in a true sense of mission.
Yes.
Because none of these principles work for you if you're only clear about them. You have to make a choice to say, these principles can guide a healthy life.
Yes.
So suppose we took the argument we had with a partner, we say, I surrender, that I'm still at the level of frustration because I don't have a solution, but we will not leave angry.
Yes.
I will submit that there is a better way that will emerge from our diversity, that we still see it differently, but a lot of elders used to take time to figure things out.
Yes.
They weren't in an instant 20 seconds to the next commercial world. So it may take us a few days to figure it out,
That's right.
but I'll say I love you before the sun sets.
Right.
Because I do love you, and we differ now. We haven't blended or synthesized our diversity yet,
Right.
but I won't take that poison because I really want us to be more beautiful and beneficial
Yes.
to the world. And I know that poison. Mandela, who recently died, used to say, be careful, black people, of revenge, because one who seeks revenge had better dig 2 graves. Your body doesn't know that it's at war,
Yes.
and it's going to make you immune. You'll stress yourself out. So suppose we could submit and just say, I don't know everything.
How about that?
And boy, would that be a breakthrough.
How about that?
I don't have to be right. I was wrong. You know, please forgive me.
Right.
You know, that's a kind of submission and surrender that will fuel or jumpstart all of the principles. But it's one of the hardest things to do,
Yes.
submission, because we've seen so much corruption, abuse of power. And Miles Monroe says, when you drift off purpose, Nia, abuse of power is inevitable. You'll always see it in churches and organizations where somebody has forgotten that as a leader, you're not supposed to control the human spirit.
Right.
You know, you're not supposed to control people or be a pedophile for, to abuse little children. You're supposed to be a servant of the people.
Yes.
When they get off purpose, abuse is inevitable.
Look at that.
This is why the 7 principles are interdependently create a force field, though they're expressed linearly
Yes.
for ease of reading. But they rarely represent a force field.
Okay.
And you can start with any one and come back to any of the others.
And I was going to ask you about that. And the name for the collective 7 principles is what?
Nguzo, Saba.
Okay.
Nguzo is a Swahili word, Nguzo. It means principles, guiding principles. Saba, remember from the 7 candles, is 7.
Right.
So Nguzo Saba, 7 principles. Coming out of our mat, our foundation, Kawaida has many principles,
Okay.
but we're giving you 7.
Gotcha.
So that if you take these 7, there are others, but if you take these 7, you have a core that you can begin to have a great life, a great family, a
Yes.
great clan, a great neighborhood, a great community. And off you go.
And I'm just thinking as you embrace those 7, live those 7, the others will eventually reveal themselves.
With courage, live those 7 means to submit
Yes.
to those 7. To not be so arrogant to say, I can ignore those 7 and still have a great life
Yes.
as a captive people.
Right.
He's saying it's not going to happen. You throw a ball up, it's coming down the field of gravity. You can't go to ignore these principles and have a great life. If you pay attention to these principles, invest in them,
Right.
submit to them,
Go ahead.
you have a chance for a great life.
Well, I thank you so much for explaining these principles to us.
Gladly.
And we're going to come back. So for those who dare to come back, we're going to do a little intellectual riffing when we come back. But I thank you for taking the time to explain this. So we'll be back in a moment on Dr. Walls and Friends, if you dare return. I'm Dr. Kathleen Walls.
And I'm Natalie Laporte.
And you are watching Dr. Walls and Friends on the Umoja Communications Network. Welcome back to Dr. Walls and Friends, and here we're doing kind of a little after-hour intellectual riff with Dr. Gordon.
Glad to be with you.
Yes, as you know, Dr. Gordon and I have been talking about sitting down and having many of our conversations taped for several years now. And today was wonderful because he was able to teach us about Kwanzaa and these principles and leading to a healthier, greater life, and that transformative life. And so we did a lot of talking behind the scenes today as well as many other days. And there were some pieces that we really want to highlight for people and getting them in, as you know, both of us psychologists here and wanting people to live a transformative, greater life. Let's dig into some of the things that people need to do in order to move past where they are.
Well, one is, you mentioned once, I want you to come back to the one you mentioned around finding something that is worthy of your submission.
Yes.
I want to focus on leadership.
Okay.
And you know, you and I have done public seminars
Yes,
where
we
we've
have.
titled our seminars, Leading Your Life
For a change.
for a Change.
That's right.
For a true change.
Yes.
For once, lead your life,
That's
as opposed
right.
to being a blind and mindless consumer, as opposed to being a wimp,
Yes.
you know, where you are, you know, wonderfully ignorant, meticulously preserved, where you're just following the nonsense of other people.
That's right.
You know, we've done seminars where we say,
Yes.
dare to lead your life
Yes.
for a change.
You know what? I recently had a conversation with an international recording artist from Nigeria. And she said, her name is Doye, and she said her father taught her this quote, which I know that you'll love. Greatness does not mingle with foolishness.
Isn't that something? Powerful quote.
Yes.
And how quickly we sell out to foolishness. How quickly we sell out.
Quickly.
And quick to say, oh, I just picked up a habit, or I was following the crowd.
Right.
No, don't come home to me saying you were following the crowd. Say you were leading the crowd.
Yes.
Then if you did something
To
stupid,
greatness.
to greatness. If you did something stupid along the way, then stumbled. If you fell 7 times, you got back up 8, you're still
That's
victorious.
right. Somebody said to me the other day, they said, what do I do? They said, you know, I made my bed, and they started to say, and now I have to lie in it. I said, well, unmake the bed and make it again.
Or what Jesus said was, ask the guy, do you really want to be healed?
Right.
And if you really answered that question, yes, I want to be healed, then he said, well, okay, take up your bed and walk.
How about that?
Don't just lie in the bed.
That's right.
Get up.
Okay.
You've been lying there 38 years.
Right.
As a poolside brother.
Right.
Sitting by the pool 38 years talking about the bed you made.
Right.
No. Follow me. Get up.
That's right.
And so make the bed differently. Get up out the bed.
That's right.
It's all about leading your life for change. So I want to say, yesterday we got the news that Nelson Mandela died.
Yes.
And I want to spotlight leadership.
How about?
Because in every moment of every day, of every week, of every month of your life, you have opportunities through these principles of Kwanzaa to make a difference, to make the world more beautiful and beneficial than you found it. If you're willing
Yes.
to not be a puppet on somebody else's string, but to actually search and research and dig. And research just means to search again.
Yes.
To actually respect people. Respect comes from a word that means to see. Suppose I resaw them,
Yes.
saw them again, saw them through a different lens, chose to see them differently, not as an enemy,
Yes.
not as a person that I need to scorn or hate, but as another brother or sister who started off as a child just like I did, who's having to reduce ignorance, who has appeared through fall, who's made mistakes. And if I could practice forgiveness with them, maybe I could forgive myself for some of the mistakes I've made.
Yes.
That would be respecting
Yes.
again.
Yes.
So a lot of implications of our discussion today, I want to start with leadership. And I honor Mandela because he could have done a lot of things, but 2 things I'm very impressed with is in a moment of where a country needed healing,
Yes.
he invested in reconciliation, truth, and healing when he could have gone for bloodshed and war.
Easily.
Second thing he did was after 5 years, he said, a good leader needs to create space for more leaders to come. And he stepped down. He said a leader has to know when to stop
That's right.
and move to other ways to manifest your gifts on the planet.
That's right.
And a lot of leaders don't understand. That's
Right.
the difference of him surrendering to the call of leadership.
Yeah. And you know, it's interesting as you said that, I thought about Moses. and how Moses had been a leader for so long, and then he had to learn how to delegate,
Right.
and then even moving, as the story is told biblically,
Right.
going into the promised land,
Right.
that he had to pass the torch on
Yeah.
to Joshua
Yeah.
and on to others.
And Aaron, yeah.
And then to Aaron,
Right.
exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly.
So one person can't do it all. We
Right.
run out of visions that any one of us can manifest.
Mm-hmm.
So I love working with you, and I love this theme of leading your life for a productive change. I love your theme of submission, because you can say, well, I've been burned before.
Right.
There's corruption in the world. I got scar tissue to prove it.
Mm-hmm.
Why should I submit to anybody?
Right.
But then it's like you're going to drive from Philly to LA by yourself and no rest. That means you got to cap your imagination.
Right.
Your vision is so small.
Mhm.
Sooner or later, you're going to have a vision of greatness that's going to require you to trust again
Exactly.
and to get that faith renewed again. That we can find some partners, even though the last partners may have taught us all the things not to do,
And that
to
was
have
their
a great
teaching.
partnership.
And that was their teaching. And that's what we have to recognize, that with every interaction, there's a lesson to be learned.
Bingo.
And so once we understand that these people come into our lives to be teachers, sometimes we're teachers, sometimes we're students, sometimes we're both.
Right.
And that's what I love about our relationship, because we are both to each other.
Right.
And so with partnership, which is another big one for the two of us, understanding and teaching people about healthy partnership,
Right.
that sometimes you have people who you've chosen to partner with,
Yeah.
that
For that season.
and they need to be a season,
Yeah.
not a lifetime.
Right.
And the reason was to teach you some things about what a healthy partnership looks like versus an unhealthy
Oh,
partnership.
now you're teaching. Now you getting me warmed up.
Go
now.
ahead.
Because when you look at it
Fan
that
the
way,
flame.
when you look at it that way, you're actually dealing with some people that are choosing partners and keeping them too long,
Way too long.
and that their own needs that led them to make that choice are out of season.
Yes.
So they got needs that are out of season,
Yes.
and partners that are out of
Go
season,
ahead.
and wonder why they're healthy.
Well, let me say this. As
Yeah.
we talk about first fruits, we talked about
Right.
Kwanzaa and so forth. If you eat fruit that's out of season, it's nasty.
And make you sick.
It sure will.
Make you sick.
Either because it's old and moldy and
Make
it's
you
not
sick.
healthy for you anymore, or because you tried to grow something in a season where it wasn't supposed to be grown.
So you're talking about food poisoning.
Yeah, there you go.
With food in quotes, not necessarily the physical food, but what are you taking in?
Go ahead.
And I think because we've been captive so long, we have what some psychologists call conspicuous invisibility.
Talk about that.
We are so deeply invisible, we're just hungry for somebody to love us and accept us. And we just want to pick up that partner
Yes.
and connect,
Yes.
not on a good basis.
Okay.
Or we want to buy our visibility at the mall.
Well, let me say this before you
Yeah.
jump into that. I'm just even thinking connectivity, because we have people who watch this all over the world.
All right.
You cannot take a what do we want to call it? That which you plug into a plug
Right.
from the United States and plug it in overseas.
Yeah. It's not compatible.
It's not compatible.
Right, right,
And so you can't plug into everything.
right. Without an adapter.
Go ahead.
You got to have somebody that's going to adapt a bridge or be multilingual
Yes.
to actually make the diversity, the power of it, not explode against you,
Right.
but work for you.
Because some appliances can't be used everywhere.
Because the source requires an adapter.
Go ahead.
So, do we want to be an imitation European? Straighten our hair, bleach our minds? Or do we want to be source connected? We want to understand that we're the original people,
Yes.
source connected, not cheap copies of somebody else. But you see people with conspicuous invisibility running out
Yes.
trying to be a copy.
Yes. And
go-
saying that they're original.
Yeah, and bought their hair from India and
Right.
put a streak in it, and bought their latest thought from, something called the news. Something called the news, which is a form of weapon of mass distraction
Yes.
or entertainment,
Yes.
and not even true. So it's interesting that what happens when you hold a people captive so long, you'll get both resistance
Yes.
and you'll get a captive's mind. And you're captive and you have an enslaved mind, then people really are hungry for visibility. And sell their soul for it.
Now, one of the quotes that I recently read with Mandela's passing was him saying that I knew when I left prison I also had to leave the bitterness and so forth behind.
It's
Otherwise,
awesome.
I would have remained
It's
in
awesome.
prison.
That's what he's saying. It's such a weight to be in a constant state of war and bitterness that you kill yourself.
Yes.
Revenge is deadly for all parties.
So how do we move to that? How do you move to that freedom?
I think sense the moment. The one is the clarity of sensing your destiny and who you are in the moment, and then I think it's surrender is the other, the courage to surrender, and to believe that a lot of things we were taught by very decent people. We're standing on the shoulders of giants
Yes.
who also were limited in their perspective, and that we shouldn't be offended if we're learning and expanding our horizons.
Yes.
And there are lots to investigate and inspect.
Yes.
We got some deep cultural inspections. We drive on the right side of the road. In other countries, they drive on the left. And we take driving on the right as normal. Just like people take, when under stress, getting some alcohol is normal. We got to have some deep inspections
Yes.
of marriage and partnership and raising children and what we eat and how we have entertainment.
Yes.
And people look for spirits in a bottle
Go ahead.
in order to really be honest with each other. No, your tongue should be honest without necessarily having loosened up by alcohol.
Exactly.
So we have a chance to do some deep inspections.
Yes.
Kwanzaa holiday is inviting us to do that, not just make it a superficial consumer holiday, which there's a lot of pressure to make it very superficial. And you know, the point is not to have a black Santa Claus.
Right.
The point is not to sing a partridge in a pear tree.
Right.
And be swallowing up European culture. We don't even know what a partridge is.
Right.
It's just a pigeon. So you sing about Easter bunnies lay eggs, and
Colorful
there's a
ones
tooth
at
fairy,
that.
colorful eggs at that, and Santa Claus came out of a tree, and you know giving children all this propaganda. Dr. Garina said, no, we have cultural traditions that have stood the test of time.
That's right.
We know something about how to build communities and governments.
Yes.
And
healthy families.
and healthy families. And we need to stop maligning Africa
Yes.
and swallowing everything bad that's been told us about Africa, and understand that it's a reference continent,
Yes.
that we can draw upon things that work all across the continent
Yes.
and modify them to our circumstances.
I love how you said a reference continent and also looking at the greatness within and understanding that there's greatness everywhere and pulling the best of and using that for our aspiration. And what I really look at it as is the foundation upon which I stand to aspire to greater heights.
That's the way he looked at it also, and that's the way to look at it. We're always moving on. Kumu says that we'd have to do something greater than the next generation.
Right.
And Nia says part of our purpose is to restore our people because we have a hurt, wounded people.
Yes.
To restore them to their traditional greatness and their full empowerment. So he knows that we've been through the meat grinder. So when you talk about the symptoms, you're talking about the symptoms of wounded people.
Yes.
So you have to be on purpose, like your emergency room doctor, to help restore people, not to malign them and say I'm better than they are and further disconnect.
Right.
But exactly what you said, which is stand on the foundation of the greatness before us, look at the wounds that need healing, and then do your part to bring your gifts to the restoration and the uplift of our people.
Now, one of the things that we talked about off camera, which I think is very important, is understanding that we are not alone.
Right.
And Michael Jackson's song was playing in my head as we were talking about it. You know, we are not alone. And getting back in alignment with that understanding that there were ancestors before us, but that those ancestors are still with us.
Right. That's a belief, and part of Imani is deep faith in something. And without that faith, you're not going to go very far.
Right.
And part of what happens with Africa as a reference conference is you always had people, no matter where they showed up in Africa, that believed in a connection between the visible world and the invisible world. And that's basically the spiritual force field of connection. And Africa is connection with divine objects and reference symbols, and its connection with ancestors, and it's also a connection with the unborn. So you're never alone in the African philosophy. Whereas in a Eurocentric philosophy, you can be alone as an individual, though truly the word individual means something else, but the way it's been socialized, it means you can think of yourself as alone.
Wow.
And that just means you're not referencing your life to Africa. If you think of yourself as African descent, you're never alone. There's always what Christian people call a great cloud of witnesses. Or what Jesus did, which, you know, he spent 18 years that they don't talk about. There's a lot of books in the Bible that were cut out.
Right.
At the Council of Nicene, they decided not to use certain books, but Jesus was also very good at showing people that what you think, based on what you see, there's something else going on. That's very African. He said, oh, you hungry, and it's 5,000 people, and you only got a couple loaves of bread and some fish. Let me show you something. Very African, which is you don't fret that you're down to your last $100. That's only money, energy manifested on paper that you can see.
Right.
You know, either that $100 is running the universe, or there's something else bigger than you and that $100.
That's right.
Now, who do you work for?
That's right.
The $100, or you work for the source?
Right.
So, even if people understood, most Christians don't really follow Christ. If they understood Christ, they'd see a lot of African principles being manifested in his desire to connect and distribute wealth across categories of people that were maligned, the Samaritans, people that were maligned. So a lot of African principles inside of things that very scary to people that were trying to create global white supremacy. So the architects of global white supremacy is really the church. And they created a lot of things. The Arabs did it. They used religion. The Europeans did it. They used Christianity to conquer people. And so the principles of these religions are very healthy, but the uses of them have been very destructive.
Wow. Wow.
Very destructive.
Let's just take a quick pause. We're going to come back and wrap up because we know this wisdom must walk in a moment.
Okay.
So we'll be back in a moment. I'm Dr. Kathleen Walls.
And I am Shwamel Shaw.
And you are watching Dr. Walls and Friends on the Umoja Communications Network. All right, welcome back to the final segment of Dr. Walls and Friends with Dr. Gordon. And we just wanted to wrap up and do some final thoughts here. So this is an opportunity really to share. I call you walking wisdom. People have seen why. They know that you are filled with intelligence. What are some messages that you would like to give out to the world?
Well, I love your theme of verbal walking. Let's walk our talk.
Yes.
Under promise but over deliver. Let's have our say match our do, and then we live in integrity. In Swahili, the walker is timbo. It's the elephant.
Okay.
And one of the strongest animals, he actually eats plants and not meat, but the timbo is the walker. So I like your theme of let's walk it.
Yes.
And we don't have to be perfect. Just be better tomorrow than you were yesterday.
That's it.
You fall 7 times, get up 8. Let's be walkers of our principles and study to be bring our gifts to the village.
Yes. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
And I don't know where this turn your light down, because when you turn the light down, you have a tendency to stumble, trip, and fall. Right.
And where it came from was a few people wanted to control a lot of people. And one of the ways you do it is to teach the lots of people that they aren't powerful. And if you can get them to buy it, they'll turn their own light down.
Okay.
So you can go home, you don't have to control them as intensely and vigilantly.
Gotcha.
So Carter G. Woodson said, if you train a person a certain way, then he'll knock at the back door. And if there's no door, he'll cut one in.
Wow.
Just to please you.
Wow.
So that's why we turn the light down, because people often using religion and education as control devices have taught us that we're not to be powerful. That we need them as intermediaries. They have the power.
Right.
And so we need a different philosophy, which is, no, we're all divine.
Exactly.
And we have powers and gifts
that
we need to bring to the village.
I heard that.
And who are you not to be powerful? Who are you not to be great? Who are you not to bring your gift to the village?
That's right.
Don't be so selfish and arrogant. Name your fear. Trust somebody to hear you. They probably have some too. Out of discussion of fear, we get to what we care about. Then we can name the vision that we want. Fear and what we care about and circumstances are the gap. Our vision represents a desired future. Let's define gap reduction.
Yes.
How do we get closer to that future together?
Yes.
Then we'll be practicing kawaida, which is our African tradition.
And I'm just thinking, as you fill in the gaps or close the gap, that's another space for more people to stand for more, and you talk about standing on the shoulders of those that came before us.
Right, because they'll always improve if we can stay on purpose.
That's right. Well, that's it.
Thank you.
I think we'll stop right there for now.
All right.
All right, y'all. We'll see them another time. This is Dr. Tom Gordon and Dr. Kathleen Walls, and we'll see you next time on Dr. Walls and Friends.
Where is my passion purpose? Where can I find it? Where is my passion purpose? Where can I find it? Where is my passion purpose? Where can I find it? And you watching Dr. Walls and Friends on UCC and
keep this.
Watching Dr. Walls and Friends on UCCN.TV. There it is.
What?